And welcome back to the flip side, man. This one's gonna be such a doozy, y'all. So we all have seen what's going on in the news in the past couple of weeks in terms of Alabama, Missouri, and Ohio. And I think y'all already know what I'm about to talk about, and that is abortion. I'm your host, Brian Hessen.
I'm Skylers I represent the pro-life side in this argument. We're talking about this today just because every single candidate who's running for office is taking a stance on this. Majority of the Democrats for abortions all the way up past the third trimester, some even right before birth. And pro-life kind of finds that ridiculous. Pro-choice finds people like me, constricting women's rights and women's choice. So today that's what we're going to get into. It's been trending on Twitter. It's been on the news stations, on the candidate forums on CNN. It's been everywhere. Do you feel like people our age care about the topic that much, or do you feel like it's outside of our?
Oh, absolutely. I think that I say our generation is the generation of protest and activism, social media activism. In that case, just because we uniquely have that our parents didn't have, or even in the 70s. I mean, during even the protests, the anti-war protests of Vietnam. The difference between them and now, one is actually our generation is the most educated out of any other generation before us. We have a lot of college-educated people in our generation. Also, two, social media, the internet, that allows the spread of information, and of course misinformation, very quickly, no matter what it is.
Mm-hmm. And all that ties into people's interest in this, and also because it's our generation, that's really, or our specific age group that's really affected by abortion laws the most, considering it's not 40-year-olds, 50-years having babies. It's the 18 to 25.
Sometimes even younger, man, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I want to talk about, man. So essentially what we're going to be going into is what we've seen, the shittiest state in America, a.k.a. Alabama.
Language.
Alabama decided that it wanted to mirror laws that kind of coalesce with like Iran or Saudi Arabia or Pakistan or Afghanistan. I'm talking about the abortion bill. I'm talking about the Alabama abortion bill. And how essentially outside of, I think it's the most restrictive abortion bill in the United States. I think the only thing that it actually protects is if the life of the mother is affected.
It protects another,
but the health of the mother. I think that's the only time that they will allow an abortion.
Yeah.
But incest, rape, or any other factor is now illegal in the state of Alabama. In Missouri and Ohio, start with Ohio, is up to 8 weeks. 8 weeks. After 8 weeks, you cannot have an abortion. Missouri follows suit. Do you think other states are going to kind of mirror that, more concerned? Maybe, are we going to see Louisiana? Are we going to see Texas? Are we going to see Oklahoma doing the same thing?
Well, I think I want to correct one thing that you said. You said that it only protects the health of the mother. You're forgetting why this whole legislation was created, and that's to protect the life of the child, the life of a human being.
Of an 8-week-old fetus that doesn't even have awareness. Yeah. Of itself.
That's Kat, our producer, by the way. She's gonna be kind of giving the female perspective.
I'm the only one with ovaries on this panel here.
Well,
but actually, the what they're saying in the Alabama bill is that it's when the fetus is either dead in the womb, and it affects the life. I think that's what it was. It's the only thing that's not restricting of the bill, but everything else is free game. Rape, incest, like I said. But essentially, what I want to get into, man, is just like the conservative argument. I want to kind of break it down.
Okay.
I believe this is a multi-layered, a lot of emotion is thrown to this. We had if you want to go look back, it's on our YouTube channel, I think. Our second episode was about abortion. We already knew that going into this, that was a topic we're going to have to hit. We have to. Know why? Because I think that's one of the biggest ethical and moral dilemmas that we have in terms of topical things.
Yeah.
Of course,
there's just really no middle ground between our two sides. Like even when it came to like the border wall, I felt like we both wanted to increase security.
Right.
We disagree on that a little bit, but when it comes down to abortion, it's really so black and white between what the two sides believe.
Well, actually, I might disagree on that. Actually, I think that the one thing that we understand, maybe not the legislation bit of it, but there's just the act of an abortion. I think that the commonality between pro-lifers and pro-choicers, and you might disagree with this, but I think that, no one actually wants abortion to happen. It's not that we are advocating for more abortions. It's essentially saying that abortions are necessary in terms of yada, 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 variable, variable, variable. And now pro-lifers are saying that we don't want abortions, but we shouldn't have abortions at all because variable, 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 yada, yada, yada. And so I'm saying is that, I hope that we can get to that one commonality that, or an understanding in a sense that, as a liberal, and I don't speak for all liberals, I don't want abortions to happen, but I know that they're necessary in the environment that we have today. It's not a perfect world, so we need, it's an imperfect world, so we need solutions that mirror that in that imperfection.
Okay. I think in order for us to get to where abortion is and just how morality has changed within our generation and within the past decades, is abortion used to be really kind of up to the states, and it used to be really the state's right to decide whether to criminalize abortion or not. And that's where we see the case in Texas pop up, Roe versus Wade, and that was back in 1973, where the state of Texas ruled that a woman has a right to privacy, that abortions were included in that, and the state can't really criminalize that at all. So up until 1973, you couldn't really do that in Texas at all. And after Roe versus Wade, which if Trump puts another justice on the Supreme Court, is most likely going to be overturned.
Yeah, more likely.
I feel like morality has almost changed in a sense. Back before 1973, they didn't even know as much in the medical fields as we do now, and they couldn't even tell as much about a baby, or they weren't even as safe practices as far as delivery goes as we are now. But even now, more so than them, we're pushing for abortions. Your own favorite candidate, Buttigieg. How do you say his name? Buttigieg. Yeah. Weirdest name.
Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Boy, real quick.
Hold on.
You see him on Fox News?
No, I didn't watch it.
You should have. It's Fox News. I know you're glued to that shit all the time. Like, come on, bro.
Man.
I'm just saying, bro. Pete Buttigieg. We can go into that later. We're gonna get into the candidates.
My point on Mayor Butt was that he was for it. When he was asked a question, I did watch clips of it. I correct myself. He did say about when it comes to abortions, he's up for letting the mother decide, and that was all the way up to the point of birth.
Absolutely.
Like how do you not see that as disgusting? It's like a baby, right? About to be delivered. There's no doubt that it's a human life. If we saw bacteria on Mars, everyone would freak out and say, "Oh, there's life out there in the universe." We won't even acknowledge life within the womb. And I find that disgusting. The procedure for an abortion is absolutely archaic. Stop. I'd hate going over it, but I think it's necessary to talk about what it is. After the third trimester, 22 weeks into it, the cardiovascular system's developed. Even sooner than that, the eyes are developed. Babies feel pain after the third trimester, and that's where some of these people are.
Some of these people. Do you know what percentage of people get? Hold on. Do you know the percentage of people getting abortions in the third trimester?
I know that it's 36% of all abortions are happening to black people.
You're absolutely right. I'm glad you said that, Skyler. I'm really glad you said that.
But I wanted to talk about. Hold on, we're talking about abortion. I just want to talk about the procedure real quick before we go into it.
The procedure of abortion.
The procedure of abortion is disgusting, and some people might just think, "Oh, you go in and then you get it sucked out." Hold on.
This is exactly the same as the videos are showing. Like, here's the thing. I get it.
But they might not. They might not.
Here's the thing. You're trying to get an emotional.
Because it is emotional. You're taking away a life.
But guess what? Guess what, Skyler? It's also emotional for the mother. No mother wants to have an abortion. That's what you don't get. That's what a lot of conservatives and men don't get. Women aren't like, I have a baby. Time to go get an abortion. Like it's not. It's
actually, you know what? There probably are some.
Oh my God, Scott.
There probably are some.
There's also some people. There probably are some, but there's probably some of everything out there. Just like you're not safe in Highland Park because there's robbers everywhere.
Yeah.
But the woman is always going to be at risk. Maybe she'll never be able to have a child again. Maybe she'll die in the process of.
Yes.
It's not a procedure that's wanted, but imagine, dude, look at all the kids that are in foster care right now.
433,000.
That's a lot.
433 kids who get the chance to live out their lives and find dreams.
Impossibly.
You guys sound like Nazis to me. You really do.
We sound like Nazis.
Yes, because it was all about, the Nazis were all about eugenics, perfect race. You know, they wanted the best class. You guys are talking about, kids might go into foster. One of the arguments is like, they're going to be impoverished. They're going to take on a financial debt. Those kids are going to be subjected to a worse life because they're going to be born into poverty.
Hold on. That's an argument I hear all the time. Let me rebuttal your Nazi comment real quick, Skyler. We have literal concentration camps at the border, the southern border of kids. There's already kids dying in our custody.
Wait, I thought there was no.
But guess what, Skyler?
No, there's not.
Oh, yeah, the fuck it is. Wait, there is kids that are dying at the border.
Language, Brian didn't mean to say that. We're gonna need to get like a beep
Skyler, guess what? Look at me. Guess what? There's kids at the border right now that are dying in our custody in concentration camps. There's kids getting molested and raped in our camps in the United States, and you're telling me that we're the Nazis?
Hold on,
Skyler. You don't say shit about it because you don't care. Conservatives don't care. Know why? Because all it is, you care about things that affect your own ego and your own pride, because it will never directly affect you. You will never have a baby in your stomach. It doesn't matter to you, Skyler. You're not poor. It doesn't matter to you. That's the problem. You can't put yourself in a different shoes. You're very one-dimensional. Very one-dimensional. A lot of conservatives are. Skyler,
you're saying I'm one-dimensional.
Let me go back to the comment that you said that a lot of abortions happen to black people. You're absolutely correct. It also happens, 75% happen to low-income families. Now, let me ask you a question.
The same people that the racist founder targeted.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question. Do you agree that abortions disproportionately affect low-income families? Yes or no? Just yes or no answer.
I got so much to say. How do you want me to say yes or no?
It's yes or no. Do you believe it or do you not? Because the CDC and Guttmacher and a lot of other institutions have already admitted this, or not admitted. They already know this, that it affects low-income families. Now tell me, Skyler, why do you think low-income families would want an abortion more so than someone who's rich and white?
I think it all starts back
Why?
off. I am telling you why. I think it all ties back into why it was founded, who the creator of Planned Parenthood and some of these facilities were.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. No, but today.
So see what he does. I come up with this train of thought and then hijack.
Go ahead.
There were so many points you wanted to say. First, when I was saying that the stuff wasn't happening on the southern border, one, Nancy Pelosi said the border was a manufactured crisis, that there was nothing happening in the border. So it's interesting that now all of a sudden there is some big thing happening.
Nancy Pelosi doesn't speak for me, first off.
Second, well, we could go back and look at videos where you were saying there's no crisis over there, that it wasn't a big deal.
It's not a crisis. It's not a crisis. You're saying that
you're
thousands and millions of people.
What I'm saying is that the film will show that you're contradicting yourself.
No, why? Because the crisis is not millions of people coming in and raping, pillaging, fucking citizens of the United States. Where the crisis might be is where we have kids in the concentration camps being killed in our custody. That's the crisis, and that's a little bit different from what you're spouting on Fox News and Breitbart. You're saying that there is a wave, a huge just legion of people coming here trying to kill us. I'm saying the crisis is where we're killing kids.
Oh, man.
I think that's the difference.
But
go ahead. You didn't answer my question as to why do you think lower income and poor families disproportionately are affected by or essentially want abortions or need abortions more so than a rich family?
The cost of raising a child K through 12 is nearly $100,000 or $300,000, and if you send them off to college, it gets even higher. So I think one of the main reasons people think they don't want a kid is for economic reasons.
That's a big portion. And
economic reasons are obviously going to be impacting people who have nothing.
Skyler, guess what? So when I say it was multi-layered, let's think about that. You're absolutely right. A lot of it is economic. When you have a cycle of poverty. Do you know what the cycle of poverty is?
Brian, why are you lecturing me?
Well, no, why? Because I need to break it down to you, because apparently you don't get it.
Apparently you don't get it.
No, apparently you don't get it. No, why? Because you would allow lower income families to be forced to have kids, and they can't afford them. Maybe had to put more children into foster care. And it shows that 2/3 of people that go into foster care, Skyler, grow up to be broke. You're
right.
And
so
guess
we should
what?
kill them off now when we're young, right? Yeah, let's kill them off now
Skyler,
when we're young.
Right. No, why? Because the potentiality. Guess what? Because the potentiality of the
evil.
mothers.
That is so evil.
Is it evil, Skyler, or is it evil to keep the cycle of poverty while you are bougie back and out in Frisco and you're cool with it because it doesn't affect you? Which is more evil, Skyler? No, it doesn't.
Skyler,
no, it doesn't, Skyler.
No, it's not killing them off while they're young. While it's now, it's eliminating the chance for this to happen. No, not
You're
for
eliminating
them to have
their life.
Well, guess what?
It's no doubt.
So you're saying a fetus has more potential than a mother? That's what you're really saying. If we're really arguing the potentiality is what we're doing.
We're not even arguing about that.
No,
we're arguing that it's their own life.
Exactly.
It's not the mother's life.
Think about it. Here's the thing. Actually, I'm about to get into that in a second. So essentially what we're arguing right now, why you
keep on saying economic reasons. Give me one other
another reason.
Of course there's
a mother
health.
could die.
Of course there's
incest,
health.
rape. What else do you want? What else do you want, Skyler? There's an 11-year-old girl right now in Ohio that cannot get an abortion. She got raped by her 26-year-old uncle, and she cannot abort that child, and she's 11 years old. You're saying that's okay?
Of course, I'm not saying.
No. I'm not saying that's okay. But you want that 11-year-old child to have a kid, is what you're saying.
What I'm saying.
No. Answer that question. Do you want that 11-year-old child to have a kid? That 11-year-old child that got raped by her 20. Answer the question.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Go ahead.
Every time I say what I'm saying, you're like, answer the question, answer the question. What I'm trying to say before you interrupted me like 7 different times is that I don't think 2 wrongs are going to make a right. I think what happened to the 11-year-old girl was terrible, and that her community and family should come around her and help her and aid her. But when it comes to, well, that's when the state government can come in, or that's when the churches come in. That's when people around her can come in.
You think that happens a lot?
I'm more focused on inside of the womb. I'm more focused on the 60 million people who didn't get the chance to see the light of day because Roe versus Wade. I'm focused on those people. I'm speaking on behalf of the unborn. I'm speaking on behalf of my own life, on my father's life. I might not even be here if you know what.
And you wouldn't know. you wouldn't.
Well, then I wouldn't get the pleasure. I wouldn't get the pleasure of living. That's my right to exist. I have the right to life.
You wouldn't know.
That's disgusting.
That's not disgusting.
That's
life, Skyler.
So
here's the thing. Like I said, and like I always say that I'm not trying to say that we do need abortion. I'm not saying that I want abortion. But until we mitigate the factors of poverty, until we mitigate the factor,
the left loves to bring up the rarity, the instance of rape and incest for abortions, when that takes up like a percentage point of all of the abortions that happen. The left just likes to say, oh, you want people to get raped to have children.
But does it happen?
You want people to have incest to have children. Does it happen? But what happens is the majority of these people are not doing it at all.
Skyler, does it happen?
Of course it happens, Brian. There's no denying that.
So what if I said?
So you're looking at the 1% instead of the whole. You're looking at the 1% instead of the whole.
No, we're looking at everybody. We're looking at everybody. You want to focus on one.
I want to focus on someone who's about to have a life and have it terminated.
I want to focus on the mothers who have the potential to do more with their life.
So tell me if this sounds right to you. A lady is in the 3rd trimester, right? She just enters it. The brain is developed. The baby can feel pain. Right. She's, the baby's having movements. It's completely developed. Right. Its cardiovascular system's there. Right. She lives in a state like California, right? So she goes to get abortion in the 3rd trimester after 7 or 8 months, right? So she goes in to get the baby aborted. The procedure is so disgusting. It's so disgusting, man. They take a 12-inch long tong that has scalpels on the end of it. They go in and pinch the baby's skull until the cranium fluids leak out, and they pull it out. The baby can feel pain. The baby's hands are wringing in the mother's womb. And you're telling me, oh, well, the mother's life is going to be better. Oh, the mother's...
Skyler,
don't give me that.
Skyler,
that's such a weak argument.
Guess what? This is where you don't get to. Do you know how many people get abortion in the 3rd trimester? And do you know why people get it in the 3rd trimester? Do you know why? You don't, because you don't care. Guess what?
Brian, first off, wait a minute. Okay, let's stop the ad hominem attacks, because you can't say I don't.
Skyler, you don't.
You can't say I don't care when I've done this since college.
Because if you would, then you have looked into why people want to get abortion in the 3rd trimester. Only 1.3% of people get an abortion at 21 weeks.
Do you value your life?
Hold on now. Do you know why?
Do you value your life at all?
Hold on. Let me get to this and I'll answer your question. Do you know why the only 1.3% of people get an abortion at 21 weeks?
Tell me, Brian.
At that time, at the 3rd trimester, in the 3rd trimester, when it's that late, most people at that time, and I'm talking about like 99% of them, already want that baby. They want the baby. At that time, it's either a complication of the child or a complication where it threatens the life of the mother. What you're thinking about when people just want to have an abortion because of financial reasons, that's in the 1st trimester, Skyler. That's when the fetus is almost non-existent. There was a case, there's multiple cases of when people get their abortions in the 1st trimester, they don't even feel it because It's hard for that doctor actually to find the child. What you're thinking about in the third trimester is that when it's a complication to the health of the mother or the complication to the health of the child, either the child is already dead in the womb and they had to get it out, or the mother's going to die. Guess what? If there's going to be a dead mother or a dead baby, I'm taking the dead baby every single time. Every single time, Skyler. I am not going to allow a child to kill the potential of a mother.
Yeah,
I will not.
Brian,
I will not sit here and do that.
My side isn't saying that either.
Yeah, you are, because you're saying, in the third trimester, they're doing this, this, and this. Well, guess what, Skyler? Not many people get in the third trimester, first off. And second off, even less, I don't even know what case of somebody in the third trimester that wants to have an abortion for financial reasons. What you're thinking about, and where you're getting kind of confused, is the economic reasons.
At all.
You are.
I'm very solid on this.
You're confused, apparently, because that argument of they just want to have an abortion for economic reasons, that's literally in the first trimester. That's not in the third trimester. At that time, women actually want to have a baby. If you're 5 months in, you obviously understand that you're pregnant.
So 92% of abortions performed before 14 weeks. 6%.
Because if it's from Breitbart, I don't know what to tell you.
It's just it's like a human resources. I'm just pulling it up right now. I mean, it's not.
I'm looking at one similar.
It's you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's saying that 92% are around before 14 weeks, 6% between 14 to 20 weeks, and then 2% in that third trimester.
Yeah,
it's very little.
96 weeks.
It's very little.
But
Guttmacher has it at 1.3%.
Here's what I'm saying.
So,
we all know that a pregnancy is the unveiling of life. It's going to produce a life. And I believe that life is God-given. I don't believe that we have the right to take that away. Now, death penalty, I think that's a very deep issue for conservatives.
I don't even talk about death
for that.
It's fine.
But what I'm saying is, I think it's a God-given gift, and that individual, despite whatever obstacles he's going to face in his life, his or her life, he should get to face them. Hold on. So listen to this. My own father, born into poverty, right? Bunch of other brothers and sisters, all in the same room, smaller than this one. I've said this story on here before, but born in a huge crime zone of Newburgh, New York, fifth dangerous city in the U.S., tons of black-on-black crime, police crime, impoverished, drugs. My dad doesn't even go back there. And it's interesting people saying all this stuff about, they're going to take on this hardship. They're going to have all these problems. Because if my grandmother thought that same way as you do, I might not even be here. And I value my life.
I'm glad
Ben Carson was born into...
Cool. Guess what?
No, listen, Ben Carson was born into poverty. He became a brain surgeon. There's so many different stories of people coming out of impoverished situations,
right?
And it's like you don't have the right to tell someone they don't get to live.
You don't have the right to tell a woman. That's what I'm saying.
How am I telling a woman anything?
You're telling you can't have an abortion.
I'm simply
It was a panel of men in their middle ages who told women you cannot have an abortion. That's how, and it's people of your party.
Because the abortion is killing off a life. And I don't know how anyone else is seeing
that life is less important than mine. I've invested 24 years into hard work of consciousness, awareness, energy, work, money. This is 8 weeks old of a fetus that God knows it could have water on its brain. I've had this happen. My little brother was born with all kinds of complications, stage 4 cancer, genesis of the corpus callosum. He had a trachea, a feeding tube. All this could have been prevented. Hard money.
Where's your brother now?
Dead in the ground after 2 years.
That's crazy.
So, all this could have been prevented had they have just I know this is so bad, but when they got the sonogram, they saw that he had water on his brain. You could have taken care of that, and you don't want to. You're selfish. You put this life in misery for 2 years. Who wants that?
Nobody. Absolutely nobody, Skyler. But guess what?
What?
You outlaw abortion, that scenario is going to happen more often. And you're just allowing that, and you keep saying, it's disgusting. Honestly, I think it's more disgusting to force women to go through that when you never have to experience it. You never, and I had to reiterate that.
How do I experienced pregnancy. from a third person's point of view. I mean, I'm involved in any pregnancy that I'm.
Don't make me laugh at you right now because I'm mad at you.
Skyler, come on. Oh my God, that's not the same.
All I'm saying
you know what? I experienced poverty because my dad was poor.
Well, you might not have experienced it, but you can understand it.
But no, Skyler, I should honestly legislate things for poor people, even though I'm never poor. And you know, that's the thing, Skyler. Like, I don't like. We will never. That's even different. We will never be women. We will never.
That's not true because the left also believes you can, you know, be a man or a woman. I saw this lady or man in A&M, some track race that was going against all these other people, all these other women who've trained their whole life to get there, get scholarships, and the male athlete who is competing at a women's event won it. So you never know. You might be a woman. You might be a woman one day.
Did that affect our abortion conversation at all?
No, but it made a point.
Exactly. So let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about something that we don't understand. Obviously, as men, and it's funny because it was a video I saw of a Missouri lawmaker talking about consensual rape. Consensual rape. I forgot which one it was, but
consensual rape.
Do you see that video?
No, but that is an oxymoron if I've ever heard one.
Man, that's how I knew that. I already knew, but this just reiterated the fact that men just don't understand. We don't live in the same shoes as women. So how can we legislate upon something that we will never experience?
So you can
we can always empathize. I'm not gonna say we can't. We can always empathize. But here's the thing. If there's that's why diversity and having a diverse group of people understand or tackling a topic, especially people who have gone through whatever problem that topic creates, is very important. But when I see 30 white men and one white woman make legislation on something that none of them have to really experience, that just kind of, I had to sit back and
experience it just as much. Because although the woman
they don't have to carry a baby, Skyler.
But they have to carry it.
That's not the same.
Through its childhood.
It's not the same.
Yes,
that's not the. I mean, both the parents do. What do you mean?
Of course, but women aren't in men's shoes, Brian.
But we're not talking about men issues. We're talking about women issues.
People always. I hate the thing where people say, you know, men don't have ovaries. They can't talk in the conversation at all.
No, we can't.
But men are absolutely affected by pregnancies that carry out.
Yeah, you know who's affected too? By having
because they have to child support. They have to raise the child.
Same with the
mother.
They
have to be there.
Same with the mother.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I just want to call out that point right there that I think is ridiculous. That
it's not ridiculous, Skyler. It's not because this is a specific topic on a specific thing that only women can experience. This is not like a poverty where men, women, black, white, Mexican, they all can be affected. This is not, healthcare where everybody is affected. This is a specific thing that we will never experience. This is a specific thing that only a specific group in this country will have to go through. And the fact that you don't even want them in the conversation, apparently, not you, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying that the conservatives in Alabama just disregard a whole demographic because of their religious beliefs, which is also bullshit because, I'm sorry, you cannot legislate off of religion. You can't. Because there's people who are not religious, or of other religion. So you can't legislate. That's so un-American to me.
What is?
To
have
push
the right
legislation,
of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I'm saying to impose your
religious beliefs on someone else.
It's not. It doesn't have to be anything about religion. I could be an atheist.
You just said it's their God-given right. You said it from the get.
Well, that's my own perspective, but you don't have to have that perspective to follow my train of thought.
But guess what? That perspective is going to legislate on something that's going to affect someone who's not religious. That's
Brian,
what I'm saying.
Take religion out of it completely.
You can't because conservatives are I'm not saying all. I'm saying a lot of conservatives are pushing this type of pushing this type of legislation based off their religious belief.
This is a Christian nation, Brian. That's going to happen in the United States of America.
A Christian nation that does not impose Christian law. Do you want to be Iran? That's what you want to do.
It's not imposing.
It is.
Christian law.
You are.
No, it's not, Brian.
Yes, it is. They are going off of their religious belief and they're doing it and they're legislating based upon that. That's what they're doing. Guess who also does that? Guess who also does that? Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran,
everything behind
the Saudis in Saudi Arabia. They do the same thing. This sounds like I saw something. I don't know if I totally agree with it, but it sounds like the beginning of Christian Sharia law or whatever it's called.
Sharia law.
Sharia law. That's what it sounds like. That sounds like the beginning of that. We're at 1 minute, and we're going to go into the break.
Let's give our final points on this real quick.
I mean, we're going to come back into the topic. I mean, we're doing a full hour of this, guys.
Cheer along.
We're gonna do a full hour of this, guy. So we're not gonna. Let's just. I'm gonna tell people, man. If you guys have any type of comments, you want to share this. It's on you. It's on. Actually, we're not on YouTube, right? We're on Facebook right now.
Yeah, we're on Facebook.
We're just on Facebook right now. I'm gonna put the video up on YouTube later.
We'll look through the comments if any during break. If there's something you want us to talk about.
Right. But yeah,
I need a beer now because I'm about to kill Skyler over here.
Gosh.
We'll see you guys in a minute.
We'll see you guys in a second, guys.
They ain't want shit to go south. Homies know what I'm about. Shorty know what I'm about. And Kaz know what I'm about. They ain't want shit to go south. Homies know what I'm about. And Shorty know what I'm about. And Kaz know what I'm about. Sit on.
Hey, yeah, I had to give me them raves. All of the time and the hours I spent for this shit, no, I won't get it paid. Nobody ever believe me, but I'm getting money, it's only gon' stay. Up in the house, you can't see me, just pull out a cutie to flip from the bag. Yeah, I remember getting back late. I remember when I cash face. I remember whipping with the bitches back then. I ain't have to ask for dates. While I throw the cash, the ass shake. All you motherfuckers, man's debate. Got the flip and never got the flopping. Fucking with the thotties, trade the cash for brain.
Count cash a day. I ain't saying I get paid. I saying I do what I do. And if you gon' hate, you gon' hate. I can't even fuck with a girl right here, cause they're too basic, I'm serious. Never take a mask off, 619, this shit been mysterious. Who the fuck is fucking with me round here? On God, I'm just curious. George Strait kept my head straight. Christian music kept me safe. Rap music made me late. I ain't never really did a thing. Shit changed, I never changed. Same team, never changed. They ain't want shit to go south. Homies know what I'm about. Shorty know what I'm about. And Kaz know what I'm about. They ain't want shit to go south. Homies know what I'm about. And Shorty know what I'm about. And Kaz know what I'm about. Sit on.
All black suit, stack it up, boo. Plenty of room in these duffel bags off of that loot. What you gon' do when I decide to arrive at this time and go tie up your crew? Nobody loose. Let's hit my dogs at the chain. We been in range. Fuck all your bro, we could rip out the cage. Passing the beat like we tossing grenades. Careful when walking your lane. Danger with crossing the blade. Killer don't know me no better. You sound the same, but he showed the shit better. Just in his fingers and Gucci, I leather. Missing and fight, I go get the inspector. Rapping pretenders. Snapping our fingers, the matrix is rendered. Crew from the grave. Aiming and shoot from the waist. I've got the ammo, let's tear up the place. Shit is reshaping the game. Playing with clay. Adding some water, then watch it decay. Wait, hold that bitch, wait. Let me tell you what it is. Tozy a great. Oh, I'm a king in this bitch. Leave me alone. Fuck with me and get this on. Ain't nobody out there in the game making moves like me. Finally getting the recognition that is heard. Feeling like Spike Lee, ho. I'm realer than real. Why you keep pretending, bro? Y'all need to chill, or at least start acting cold. My flow is the coldest, man. Don't get me started. My flow is retarded. No call that my image is perfect. You already know that. I don't need to show that I'm perfect. I know that I am. Damn, fuck it, I will. No Smith, I got no chill. Oh shit, fuck it, I will. No Smith, oh shit, oh shit.
They ain't want shit to go south. Homies know what I'm about. Shorty know what I'm about. And Kaz know what I'm about. They ain't want shit to go south.
Yeah.
Homies know what I'm about.
Yeah.
And Shorty know what I'm about.
Yeah.
And Kaz know what I'm about. Sit on.
Shorty know what I'm about. Shorty about to go south. Shorty about to get mouth or get the fuck my house. All these lame niggas I pick, same lame niggas I tish. Hey, my niggas stay woke. Hey, y'all niggas stay slick. Hey, so watch what you asking me. Air Rodgers on the back of me, which means like 12 of it. So we double check a whole pack with me. Give a fuck about who after me. LeBron money need that Kareem. Who know when you know once cock it that no passing me. Life great actually. House blend is a masterpiece. For a fact, I'm about it like 9-7. Masterpiece. Hey, all of my niggas got purpose. Nigga, we did this on purpose. Hey, nigga, I want it on purpose. Hey, you know what make it
Am I up? Sweet. Welcome back, y'all. This is the flip side. I don't know if you guys were here for the first half. It got pretty wild. We're talking about abortion today, guys. It's one of those ethical dilemmas that it's hard to talk about because we are talking about lives. And, of course, there's other topics that do talk about the direct lives of people. But this one is almost feels as if there's not a real solution just because there's so much difference. Like you were saying in the first half, there's so much a difference of perspective and there's a difference of belief that it's now allowing this, it's not allowing that civil discussion that we're trying to have today. And of course, you hear us like yelling at each other in the first half, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is the flip side. And we try to bring it back into a civil way.
And, whenever we get onto topics like these, it kind of reflects the passion that's out there in the rest of the public that's not being said, but maybe over Twitter or these arguments that we're seeing. So whenever we do get into topics like this, I feel like it is kind of, the voice of our generation a little bit, of really combating each other heads to heads.
Right.
And it's interesting how it heats up because we don't see any type of common ground. And it's the same thing within our highest levels of legislation. It's like whoever's in power is really going to be deciding what path we're on. It's two paths. It's not a two-way street, and that's what's so important about elections. And I know that we always push for elections whenever it comes around, but I think this is going to be one of the main issues surrounding the 2020.
Absolutely.
Trump puts another justice on the Supreme Court. We're going to see Roe versus Wade overturned, I believe.
Right.
And I think we wanted to talk a little bit more about that. Abortion, it really all starts back from 1973. It's a conversation that's been going on, and I don't know how long it's going to go on. But
this is for those who are not really familiar with Roe v. Wade. We talked about it a little bit in the first half.
Give a little bit of background on.
So I have a summary. It's a legal case in which U.S. Supreme Court, and like you said, 1973 ruled 7-2 that unduly restrictive state regulation of abortion is unconstitutional. In a majority opinion written by Justice Harry A. Blackmun, the court held that the set of Texas statutes criminalizing abortion in most instances violates a woman's constitutional rights of privacy, which is to be implicit in the liberty guarantee of the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, nor shall any state deprive any persons of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So that's kind of just the summary of Roe v. Wade. From there, it's at a federal level, it allowed abortions through the clause of the 14th Amendment. And so, kind of go into what you were saying about the Supreme Court. Donald Trump, what he's doing right now, he's stacking the courts with more conservative-leaning judges.
He's stacking the court with constitutionalists. The only thing we should be putting onto the
conservative, very conservative, right-leaning judges that are going to appease the conservative constituents. It's obvious. It's political. I mean, come on. It's the same that Obama was going to do when he was trying to. There was a vacancy, even though the Republicans were now allowing a constitutional appointment of a justice. But that's a different story. Anyways, they want to outlaw Roe v. Wade. And just a little bit of background on Roe v. Wade. Let's talk
about the story, how it came up to the courts.
So there was it was essentially. There was
there was a lady in Texas.
Yeah.
And at the time, Texas did not allow abortions to be taking place.
It was at the state level.
At the state level, they would actually it was criminalized just because back then, just as I believe now, they saw it as something that was barbaric, termination of a life, and they were just against it. And more or less, what happened was a lady came up, and her name was I forget her name. Yeah. Could you actually find what her name is? I feel like we should have her name.
Can you look that up for us real quick?
But more or less, this one lady, I think she was past her first trimester already. I don't think any people involved in the case actually weren't in the first trimester. But back in Roe versus Wade, it was specifically
the medical procedures that's another thing I kind of wanted to get into. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it was simply I want to throw this out there that so the science behind, like you were saying, the first half of it. It wasn't as advanced as today.
Yeah.
We didn't necessarily know at the time, how to do the procedure of abortion was different. And it was just trimesters. We knew there was 3 trimesters. It was just kind of
that's
vague
the thing though.
Almost.
Roe vs. Wade was a lot about the first trimester, and that's why I said at the very beginning of the show, like it's interesting how our morality has changed to where it's now like even up to the point of birth in some states that you can go and get abortion.
So her name is Norma McCorvey, by the way.
Norma McCorvey, I knew that. So Norma went to try to get an abortion, was criminalized by the state of Texas, and challenged it in courts, the state level, and ended up getting repealed back up to the federal level, and that's when it went before the Supreme Court.
Right.
And that's when the majority opinion that a woman has the right to privacy.
Right.
And I obviously follow the dissenting opinion written by Justice Rehnquist, a brilliant constitutional scholar who really kind of found the court's use of the 14th Amendment and looking to the right of privacy in regards to abortion to be it bewildered him. He didn't see where the court found its legal prerogatives in finding the right to privacy in outlawing a state's right to restrict abortion. I kind of want to ask you, Brian, looking back at Roe v. Wade, the turning point was that an individual has a right to privacy, and whenever you look up what the right to privacy is,
person of life, liberty, or property without due process. That's what the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah,
is saying.
And it's the right to be protected from public scrutiny, the right to be left alone, as Justice Louis Brandeis pointed it out.
Right.
What I want to say is, what right to privacy? If this goes back before the court, and that's obviously going to be a question that the justices are going to consider once again, is where is the right to privacy in all this? When the Supreme Court took this case, they decided that the right to privacy includes
the reproductive organs of a woman. That's what they're saying is private to a woman because it is her organs.
But if you're going up in front of a doctor, how's that private? I mean, if you're going and getting an abortion,
there's private practitioners. That's the reason why it's private.
I just don't. I don't follow where the right to privacy
because it's not public.
In.
It's not public. That's why it's private. It's it's based upon
when the right to privacy and those sort of that sort of intention was written into the Constitution was more about protecting your own personal information, not allowing collection of personal information and allowing that to be exposed to the public in that sort of public scrutiny. And I feel like they really were digging around somewhere to try to find
property. It was persons of life, liberty, and property. It deprived the woman of her liberty and her life.
Well,
that's why they upheld Roe v. Wade.
Does it not deprive the baby of its life?
So what
right to privacy of his own organs that are going to be crushed by a scalpel and his skull leaking out?
In the third trimester, only if it affects the woman's life or the baby's already dead in the womb. So yeah.
No, Brian, that's not the case.
Yeah, that's a case.
Brian,
for what 1.3% of all abortions?
2%, and
and of those, it's not.
If you highlight how much the 1% of the incest and rape, I want to go into that 2% of the fully grown baby who is viable outside of the womb.
Right,
There's babies viable outside the womb, like nearly 10 to 13 weeks out before birth.
No, so I actually looked that
can viably live outside the womb. No. You can see pictures of little babies like this big.
So
less than a pound
that's why I
that are viable
into.
Outside of the womb.
No.
What right to privacy does this individual?
Hold
on. Hear me out though.
Okay.
What right to privacy does this individual have on its limbs from being plucked away from him? Its skull being crushed.
Right.
Does that not?
So I'm gonna get into that. So that's wrong. I actually specifically looked this up because that was one of the things I wanted to know. I wanted to know what was the youngest, and of course you guys can fact check me. This is just what I got off of Guttmacher, which Guttmacher.org kind of goes about abortions, and they get a lot of their information from the CDC. That the youngest, baby, I guess baby to come to term. It was prematurely. It was at 21 weeks, and that's at 5.5 months per se. This is so I never really got to tell my personal opinion on what I think the abortion law should represent in terms of what I believe in. I believe that abortion should be allowed up to 21 weeks. I think that it should be allowed up to the point where the fetus or baby, whatever you want to call it, can survive outside of the womb and is not dependent upon the mother's womb. And at that point, we should allow, and that's, like I said, up to 5.5. However, only if it doesn't affect the life of the mother, doesn't affect the life of the fetus, and there wasn't incest and it wasn't rape. I think all of those you should be able to have an abortion. But up to, and that's, I'm talking about all the way up to whenever you need it. Now, if that's not the case for your abortion, it should be up to 21 weeks, I believe.
So I'm actually reading here that it says 21 and less, there's a 0% chance of survival. 23 and more, there's a 5% chance. Right. And 24 weeks, there's only a 40 to 70% chance.
Exactly.
And by the way, 24 weeks is almost almost in the middle of 6 months.
Right.
So that's over halfway through your pregnancy.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying. So if it's a 0% chance that fetus can live outside of the womb and is solely dependent upon the womb of the mother, it does not have the same rights as the mother. It does not. It is not an individual. It is not. It just should not have individual rights because it is still dependent upon the body of the woman. Therefore,
so is a little baby. So
no.
So is a 1-year-old child.
Yeah, a 1-year-old child can live outside the womb. That's what I'm saying.
Not without its mother.
Outside the womb, of course, Skyler. But guess what? If I put a 15-week fetus on the table right here and a 1-year-old baby, guess who's gonna live for an hour? Which one's gonna die within probably the first couple minutes? It's easy, Skyler. It's the fetus. It's the fetus. So essentially what I'm saying is that why are you giving that the same individual rights as a woman?
Because that same little fetus
that's dependent upon the woman's womb.
You keep referring to a fetus within a couple of weeks is going to be that baby. I see that connection there.
Only dependent upon the mother's womb. So, and I understand that you're right. The potential of that fetus will be that baby. However, it is still at this stage. Before it gets to that stage of past 21 weeks, it is dependent upon the womb of the mother. It cannot survive as an individual. So why are you giving it individual rights as a woman? And
I'm giving it because I'm recognizing it.
Here's the thing: the potential of the mother is more so than that fetus. It is. It always will be. Absolutely. Until that child can live outside like we do in the world, not connected to his mother's womb, his or her mother's womb.
You want to come in like the Grim Reaper with the Sith and snuff out its chance before
I don't
it gets
even know
to that point.
what that meant.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you're trying to like find out. Oh wait, where can we get it before?
No, but that's just science, Skyler. That's just how facts work. I don't know what to tell you. That's just how facts work. And here's the thing. Right now where we're arguing, honestly, we shouldn't even have to be arguing this.
What?
The sheer fact of that fetus doesn't have individual rights as a woman. Really, what we should be arguing right now is the effects of abortion on the community, or the effects of not allowing abortion in the community.
Okay.
That's what we should be arguing.
Well,
because that's what's going to affect the totality of the community.
Yes.
In a negative or positive way.
I think that before you can start talking about abortion and how we're all wrong for it, we need to be getting free birth control. We need to be getting free feminine products.
And
that's already out there.
Vasectomies. I mean, all of the above. And then we can start talking about, controlling or... controlling abortion, because some women don't need to be going out getting 5 abortions in 3 years because they don't know how to wrap it up.
Right.
That is wrong. But what is the effect on the abortions that we're having right now? I mean, is humanity about to go extinct?
I mean,
what's the issue with that?
Right. I'm glad you. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's our morality that suffers, and I know you guys don't think it does, but I think
ego.
We lose.
It's ego. It's your ego. It's your ego. Because it doesn't. That's why I keep going back to. Here's the thing: allowing abortion or not allowing abortion right now does not affect Skyler Roundtree ever.
It absolutely does.
It doesn't.
I'm a member of my community. I care about the black race.
So yeah, I do exactly. I do too, Skyler.
A majority of all the Planned Parenthoods, and you cut me off before I got into Margaret Sanger. Back before the break, was that majority of the Planned Parenthoods located right by impoverished communities. The founder of Planned Parenthood literally was a pro-eugenics ideologist. She's quoted saying that she didn't want any more Negro babies, saying some of the most disgusting quotes, saying that she was creating this literally to create a better race, to get rid of black people. And nowadays, like I was saying, 36% of all abortions are the blacks. 900 black babies are born every day. That affects me. You saying that doesn't affect me just shows a lack of empathy on your part.
No, it doesn't affect you, Skyler, because you're not a woman and you're not poor.
It affects me, Brian. What's happening in my society day by day just makes affects me. I'm a member.
This is what it does. This is how it affects you. Oh man, people are having abortions. That's it. When's the last time you've been to the hood?
Why does that have to do with anything?
This is what I'm saying, Skyler. If you care so much, you don't even go there.
Well, I can tell you why. There's a woman I live in the hood, by the way. There's a woman on my street who has 4 children and walks to the bus station every day, and literally, while she's walking in front of our house, beats one of her children with a stick.
That's pretty crazy. that's pretty wild.
I'm just saying.
But that's what I'm saying, man. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Kat. Like,
and I think she might be pregnant again. I'm not too sure, but that's kind of what happens.
Right.
When you live in a situation like that and you're raised in a situation like that, you're just going to continue to be miserable.
Right.
And you can't do anything to fix that.
Right.
Except for death.
Here's the thing. I get what you're saying, as if, like, you're saying that, the pro-choice argument is, we're saying it's a necessary sacrifice. Essentially what you're saying. We're saying that you understand that we're saying that this is a necessary sacrifice. But conservatives, and not even conservatives, society in general understand that necessary sacrifice. We do it all the time. I mean, when we go to war, when we make decisions about the southern border, understanding that,
Speaking of going to war, good point. Right. We're killing people every day when we go to war.
Drone strikes kill. I mean, the drone strike program has killed so many innocent people. But you know what? We see it as a
people are. They're involved in terrorism.
No, Skyler. No. You're saying that a majority of those people are involved in terrorism when the drone program has killed a lot of innocent people, kids included?
Yeah, Obama went absolutely wild on the drone program. Those kids are terrorists.
See, that's the disconnect that you're having, Skyler. Those kids, if you're saying you're pro-life, have the same potential of life as a kid in the United States. But it's okay because they're a necessary death.
We are not.
They're a necessary death for the interests of the United States because it's for the whole, right?
We are not Hamas or Iran targeting
I'm
civilians.
not even talking about that. We don't bomb Palestine.
We're not like Iran or Hamas
we don't bomb Iran.
who bring children in towards where they keep their rockets and missiles and use that as a defense for them.
So kill them.
When we go and use drone strikes, bar none, we're always going to be aiming at.
You're right.
We're going to be aiming at
schools,
specific
hospitals,
specific places that we know that terrorists are that are going to harm innocent civilians. That's when the U.S. steps in.
And so it's a necessary evil, right? Dude, when those children die, it's a necessary evil, right?
No, Brian.
No, it is, right?
You're not letting me get to a point. You're just trying to say like every single rocket blast is going to kill a child.
No, but a lot of have, and actually we're a lot of countries want to put us on war crimes because of it.
So you're saying it's okay to bomb these cities because they're a ticking time bomb, correct?
I'm saying if there is a rocket that's going to be fired up into a school with 100 children in it, and
which is a possibility.
Which is something that happens all the time over in Israel because that's what they have to deal with.
But those kids don't deserve death is what we're saying, right?
I don't think anybody deserves death other than people who take life away from another individual.
But
I don't think anything voids the right to life.
Those people die. Those kids die, right?
As a product of war. Right? Nobody wins in war, Brian.
Well,
this isn't war, though. This is a womb. This is innocent.
You just called us Nazis. Essentially, you're saying that we're killing millions of people.
You literally are killing 60 million people because you keep arguing about poverty.
Yeah, because poverty is bad, Skyler. That's what you don't get because you're not poor. That's what I'm saying. You're not poor, Skyler.
You're being a simpleton. You're getting so angry and flustered.
You are so disconnected. That's the problem. You're not poor. The cycle of poverty is bad. That affects our communities. We have 433,000 people that are foster. If you actually cared about black kids, there's a lot of black foster kids. How about you go and adopt one? Let me guess. You don't want to. Well, let me guess. Other people don't want to.
Why? One day
because they don't actually care. There should be no kids in foster care because there should be a line, an army of pro-lifers going and adopting kids. But there's not.
And there are people
why? Because they don't actually care.
And there are.
So why is there over 400,000 kids every year that are in foster care?
Because people are also continuously being born, and you can't always take on. You don't always have.
There's 300 million people in the United States, Skyler. There's there's probably around 70 million people that are eligible to adopt. There's only 400,000 kids. No,
that doesn't mean that they can, and it doesn't mean
why can't they?
Well, for one, it's not their specific responsibility.
Oh, now it's not their responsibility.
Well, this is a family outside, Brian.
So,
this is
I thought all lives matter, Skyler. I thought all lives matter.
People go into just because we don't live we live on Earth. We live in a place that's not perfect, right? We still have the best nation, bar none, in the entire world. We're blessed to live here, and our foster care is probably better than a lot of other places.
No, it's actually trash.
It's not.
It's actually trash.
Yeah, Brian, liberals love to just trash America, get rid of people who are poor.
Facts.
Well, guess what? Guess what? I don't believe that.
I don't believe.
Well, yeah, of course it could be better, Brian, but that is one of the routes that you can go into. And after you get out of foster care, if you don't end up getting adopted, unfortunately, that would be terrible. I mean, that would be. I mean, you can find joy elsewhere. I mean, you don't just because. Hold on, no. Wait, let me finish my point. You can go through foster care. You come out of it, and you're an American citizen. You're still going to high school. You can still get an education. You can still live your life.
Yes,
you might not get.
But you're an American citizen who is beaten for 12 years by her crackhead mother, who is burned by cigarettes and living in a roach-infested and rat-infested fucking apartment.
And then you write a book about it, and then you go and infect
millions.
Oh,
is that what happens? How often does that happen, Skyler? You don't. Oh, dude, I'm about to.
There are a lot of books out there about. There are a lot of famous people who came from foster homes.
Guess what? That's a very, very, very small percentage, Skyler.
And guess
very
what?
Small percentage.
And guess what? And you really, really, really don't get to void his right to life just because you thought he was going to have.
And you don't get to take the right to privacy from women.
You don't get to.
And you don't get to allow the cycle of poverty to keep on turning because of your religious beliefs.
It's nothing to
do with religion.
Because
you don't actually care about poverty. You don't actually care about the rights of women.
I do care about poverty.
And when I'm saying conservatives. I'm sorry. I'm just talking.
Conservatives do care about poverty.
Because they don't. If you're anti-abortion, you don't. Because you don't get it. Because you're not. Because a lot of them.
He preaches from his high horse.
No, because know why, Skyler? Because you don't have the moral authority in this argument.
And
you don't.
You don't have the right to take away a life. You keep on telling me
you don't have the right to take the life of the potential of a mother.
Right, I'm taking away the life of a mother. When am I doing that?
The 11-year-old child that can't have an abortion in Ohio that got raped by her 26-year-old uncle. That she might not live through that pregnancy because she's 11, Skyler.
Or her entire childhood is being taken away from her if she does survive because she's having a baby while she's a baby.
11. But hey, guess what, Skyler? You want that to happen, apparently.
I don't.
You do? Oh, you don't?
No, I don't
you're pro-choice?
I don't want 11-year-olds to get raped. Who does?
No, not saying that you want.
I'm not even talking. Like, yes, the rape was awful, but I'm talking about her being pregnant.
I think something beautiful can come out of her womb. Yeah, I think she should have it
because I think
something
beautiful.
There's a good chance that baby's gonna die. She's 11.
And if it gets to that point where they know the baby is unviable, or they know that the 11-year-old is not going to be,
it has to come to terms.
If they know that 11-year-old is going to be harmed significantly or her life is put in danger, then they will terminate it. And
why not terminate it now, though? She can't. That's what I'm saying. Why not terminate it now as soon as they find out that the 11-year-old was pregnant? Why not be able to terminate it then?
What did the baby do to deserve that?
What did the 11-year-old to deserve that?
Nothing.
Exactly.
And what did that?
Hold on. Why did she have to live with the victims? Why did she have to live with her assaulter's actions? Why did she have to live with the rapist's actions upon her?
I think something beautiful can come out of it.
Oh my God, Skyler. Okay, okay.
There's a lot of people who've been raped and carried their children out, and it's one of the
and
biggest.
There's a lot that didn't.
And they talk about it being the best blessing that they had on their life is their child. You know, a lot of people who have abortions talk about the depression that comes with after it.
Great for them.
Because they just murdered a life. They feel terrible for it. And people have to seek counseling. Right. I think another thing that people, whenever they say, rape happens and they go off and get abortion, I think abortion's a very cheap way out from the healing process. Because if you have it, let's say you get raped, right? Because that's a statistic you love to use. If you could just go out and get an abortion, never tell anybody, and just live with that and huddle that pain inside of you, that's going to go on for years and years and years. You're not going to trust men, and it's going to create this whole dichotomy within you.
How do you know that that's how it works? You're not a woman.
Stories.
From who?
There is a lady who was raped and came and spoke at the University of Missouri who carried her child to term and she's speaking about it and was speaking with she gave multiple other stories of girls that she had talked to that were at college campuses, and they talked about how painful it was because they never got the healing process of going to their counselor, of talking to their family, because they just went and back to,
and that's the problem of society, not the woman. We should have been there for her. That's not her problem. That's the problem of our society. And this is what I also want to kind of get into, because we don't have a lot of time.
No,
but I want to kind of get into this. The whole goal, of course, on both sides, is that we should have a society that doesn't need abortion. That we get to a point where abortion
we will never get to that point.
And that's the reason why we will always need abortion, because of that mentality right there. Skyler, that's what I'm saying.
There'll never be a day.
Pro-choicers understand and believe that there's going to be a time that we don't need abortion because we have access to more women's health care. We have access to contraceptives. We have access, there's free condoms,
there's already all that on college campuses.
Not everyone goes to college, Skyler. Majority of people don't go to college. That's the problem, Skyler. Again, back to the disconnect. You don't understand because you're not them. And that's the thing, Skyler, is that you want abortion not to happen.
Final
so
points.
You go, yeah.
Final
okay,
points,
so,
and also tie in your final points, what you think the society around Alabama, what do you think the states are going to do around it? What do you think, the repercussions of these laws going?
Like
final points,
ramifications?
Final points and ramifications.
Okay, so my final point is, guys, is that we as a society have a duty to make sure that everyone has the ability to live freely, but not be hindered by, actions of others and others' beliefs. Because we live in a free society that's not based upon religion. And when it comes to the argument about abortion is awful. Both sides understand that. But until we get to a point in society that we don't need abortion, until we get to the point where it's not even a thought, it's not even an option on the table because it's never needed, until we get there, we always will need abortion as a solution, because that is the body of a woman and what they need. And going into the ramifications, I'm afraid that more states will follow suit of Alabama, Missouri, and Ohio. It will get to the point where we will disregard the problems in poverty based upon our own personal beliefs that will never affect us in terms of abortion or poverty. This is the multi-layered argument that I'm trying to get to, Skyler. It's not just abortion. It's everything that will affect it in terms of the community, in terms of other mothers and single mothers, in terms of just putting more people into the cycle of poverty that will affect other communities, that will raise crime. Roe v. Wade, when it was passed, in the next 3 years, crime decreased by 42%. 42%. It was an obvious correlation, because it was the first hit to trying to allow people to have the potential to get out of the cycle of poverty. But you're not allowing that because, unfortunately, people get pregnant. Women get pregnant. And if you're not allowing them to live their life because of your own ego, you are allowing poverty and the death of others because of your own narcissistic beliefs in general. That's my final point.
I'm not a narcissist.
Oh, you definitely are, my friend.
All right. Final point and some ramifications, what I think will happen after these laws passed in Alabama, Missouri, and maybe Texas. But I think that everyone has the ability to live freely and should not be hindered by another's beliefs. Brian actually said that, but the point where we differ is that I don't think that someone's beliefs that I'm going to be living in poverty and that I'm going to have a poor life should void my own chance to overcome obstacles and reach my dreams and live out my own life. In the words of Ronald Reagan, I've noticed everyone who seems to be pro-abortion seems ready to be born. My side, I think it takes a very intellectual standpoint to be able to argue for something that has no voice of its own. It's no doubt that any single pregnancy or majority of them is going to result in life. People who are pro-life are not saying that when the mother's going to die, that the baby still has to be born. What we're trying to do is protect the life that's inside of the womb. And that's my main goal through this, is protecting those who haven't got to see the light of day yet, because they deserve to. And wrapping things up on ramifications, I think we're going to see protests on Supreme Courts. I think when the debate comes around, there's going to be multiple town halls where Trump is schooling all these other liberals and exposing them for how crazy these laws are. I think that people are really going to get more in tune to it. I think we're a little bit ahead of the big discussion on this when the 2020 election comes around, but that's what we do on the flip side. We're coming to you on May 27th, the day before Memorial's Day. We got to say, it's a blessing to be able to speak on a free platform like this.
Right,
and, that's a lot of this freedom that we have to speak about things that we care about is because those who've gone before us and given this great platform of the United States to go and talk to each other and have public discourse. And it gets heated and we hate each other, but I
don't say hate. I don't like that. I don't like it. Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna wrap it up, but there's no hate. There never will be, because I think that hate will only solidify people's beliefs on the right or on the left. We gotta not get to the middle as be moderates, but we got to get to a point of commonality, and that's the point of the flip side, y'all. That's what we do. Hey, follow us, share if you love the video, comment. Please comment on. I want to see what y'all got to say. The flip side on air at gmail.com if you want to email us.
Tell us if you thought I had a better argument or if you learned anything.
Yeah, that's important. But I appreciate it, y'all. My name is Brian.
My name is Skyler, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Gang, gang.